Manchester United stand. Ryan Giggs, Manchester United legend, will leave the club for the first time in 3 decades to go and hopefully build his career elsewhere. How are you feeling about that? Do you think it's right or wrong? I'll give you my opinion as always. I think it's a fantastic decision. I think it's 100% the right decision for Ryan Giggs. My dream is that one day, one of the class of 92 will take over Manchester United, and they know the club like the back of their hand, and that's exactly what I want. The United way, brought up on the United way, entertaining football, the youth, challenging for titles, exactly what I want. But I don't think any of them are ready to do it at the moment, and the only way they will be ready is by going off and leaving like Ryan Giggs is going to do, getting a decent job and cutting your teeth. If he's not successful, it was never meant to be. But I do not believe that he should ever have been given the job based on being an assistant manager at Manchester United. It's not FIFA. It's not FIFA Football Manager, or whatever else anybody plays. I know some people were saying he should go managing the under-21s for Manchester United, and that would be a good experience for him. You know what? He may as well go and play FIFA than do that, because it bears no relevance to being Manchester United manager. If you want to be Manchester United manager, you've got to go out there and manage clubs like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has. It's not quite worked out well enough. Steve Bruce, Robson, Keane. You look at them, Mark Hughes. I don't think any of them are good enough to be Manchester United manager, because you've got to be in the top echelon. But I would love Ryan Giggs to go and manage somebody like Cardiff or Newcastle or someone like that. Couple of years, get them playing good football, show that he's capable of doing it, and then come to Manchester United. That's the dream, and that's always the way he should have done it. What's he learnt from David Moyes? What's he learnt from Louis van Gaal? All he ever needed was the last 30 years playing under Sir Alex Ferguson. What an apprenticeship that was. Now go out and see if he can do it. The odds are against him, because the odds are against anybody doing it. It's not easy to go and be a successful manager. You're like in the top 0.01% to be able to do it. If we can do it, that is my dream. I would love to have an ex-player, especially from the class of 92, managing us. But he's right to go. Mourinho is a fantastic manager, but just being an assistant manager doesn't make you a manager. There's so many examples. I always use Paul Clement at Real Madrid, who went to Derby this season, and it just didn't work out. But Brian Kidd, Steve McLaren in the past, great assistant managers, not worked out as managers. You've got to go out and do it yourself, and it might not work. But I respect Ryan Giggs for doing this, and I hope it works, and I hope he does come back as Manchester United manager, because there's just so much for us to gain as fans for that to happen. A legend as a player who knows the club like the back of his hand coming back. It might not be Giggs. He might come back as an assistant for Gary Neville or Paul Scholes or even Nicky Butt or Phil Neville. I don't care. Any of those would be absolutely brilliant. What's the legacy of Giggs as a player? Legend. We don't need to talk about that. What's the legacy of the last 3 years? I personally think he deserves a lot of credit. I know a lot of people said, well, he's been a party to what has been a bad 3 years, but what was he supposed to do? Especially when you look at Van Gaal. Van Gaal apparently hasn't really used him, hasn't listened to him much, given him menial tasks. And Giggs has been much the same as the class of 92, especially Scholes, who's been publicly berating what's going on at United. Apparently Giggs has felt much the same, frustrated. But as an employee of Manchester United, an assistant manager to Van Gaal, what was he supposed to do? I think he deserves a lot of credit professionally for what he's done, which is supporting his employer and keeping his mouth shut. Because if he, let's say in January or even last summer, he'd come out and said, I can't work for this dictator, I don't agree with what he's doing, I don't like it. As a Manchester United legend who demands more respect than Van Gaal massively, it would have been civil war. We'd have all backed Giggs. We would have said the board are a joke. We would have not been backing. We wouldn't have backed the team, the players, Van Gaal, and Giggs would have caused all that. And to have that on your conscience as somebody who's been at the club all his life, I think quite rightly he thought, I'm not willing to do that. I'm not willing to disrupt publicly the club that I love, and he's held his counsel. And it's ran its cause, and he's not put himself forward as bigger than the club to cause those issues. So I respect Giggs for that. I think he's done really well about that. Even though at times I've been frustrated by Giggs, thinking, why are you putting yourself next to Van Gaal or Moyes and letting them ruin our club? But actually, when you think about it, I think he deserves a lot of respect, because he could have gone public, he could have caused massive issues, and he didn't do that. So I hope he goes off. I hope he gets himself a decent job. I think Championship would be good. It's a tough league to cut your teeth in, and if you can get promotion, it shows some success. And I hope he does come back to Manchester United in some capacity. But I'm a firm believer personally that you've got to go out there and prove yourself away from the club, because it's a bubble at Old Trafford, and he needs to cut his teeth. I know it's a bit of a cliche, but he does. So tell us what you're thinking. I think Giggs goes as a legend as a player, but I also think he deserves a lot of respect for the way he's conducted himself over the last 3 years in very trying and difficult circumstances with two managers who've been a bit of a disaster. So all the best. I think it's the right decision. I don't think he learns anything staying under Mourinho, and I think it benefits us both as a club and him as an individual to go our separate ways for now, but hopefully to come back together in the future. Because my dream, no matter what, is that one of the class of '92 will take over at United at some point, or an ex-player that I've got a lot of respect for, because they know the club, they know the way, and that would be fantastic. But for now, Mourinho is the right decision, because we're in a perilous situation and we need to get back to the top, and he will do that. But Giggs, I've got a massive amount of respect for him, and I wish him all the best. So give us your thoughts. You might think differently. Get commented below. Speak to you all soon.